before we get the year wrong again.
Okay, Frumple
What?
TV is live.
Hi, Mom. um, okay, I got 1 o'clock. We can get going. Welcome aboard, everyone. Welcome to the January 2022 Infrastructure Staff Meeting, which is going to be all about MRT extensions. Yay.
Yay.
All right, so first up, we've got MISA is opening 2 extensions, the DLX3 and the Southern West extension. MISA,
Also, I have a minute.
Yeah, I'll pull up the claim
notes on the
results
allocations?
after they load.
Okay. While you're doing that, I might as well just announce the details that Moj sent me for the Eastern North extension. I believe this is ENX 2 or 3.
I believe it's 3 because I think I built 2.
You did 2 different Antiv. Okay, so here, yeah, so ENX 3. Where the hell did Moj send it to me?
It's on the minutes right now. He put it on the minutes.
Oh. Put it on the agenda, people.
Well, so the station allocation. Oh, you're gonna announce them, Chief.
Yeah. So the allocations that Moj handled so there were a few that were already in existing towns. Aside from those, EN 38 goes to Kraka, EN 39 to Labsillion, EN 47 to Harbor Random, and EN 49 to RR 10021.
Yeah, that was a mistake. The second player's name is underscore Cillian. I believe Moj might have missed that they do not wish to be referred by their old username anymore.
Okay. Yeah, if that username change has gone through, then cool. Anyway, those are the allocations for those 4.
I don't think
Missy,
there's any objection. Sorry for stepping over you.
Yeah, no, you're good.
Don't think there's any objections. We did talk a little bit about RR and not really having a finished town yet, but there's a surplus of stations anyways, and it's not like it's gone an extreme, so
Yeah, at this point, I'm not worried about it. Okay. Cool. Missa, have you got your details up?
Yeah, I have all of them. So there weren't any conflicts. So the transfer station D71 and Southern West 48 will go to Burncow. D63 will go to Melicy. D77 will go to Vicky. D78 to Kimata, and D66 to the all-rounder MC.
Okay, I got D63 and D77. Which are the other ones?
Is this written anywhere, Missa?
Yeah, let me
just
copy
paste it
paste
in
them
the-
into minutes.
Yeah, just
And notes to staff, just post it in the agenda next time. Post it in the agenda when you close the form or like a day before, just so that we only have to look at one place. Okay. Cool. Any seeing essentially no real objections.
nope.
Okay. All right, 9C, Foot Chicken would like to do another Mesa Line extension out to from Weiselberg out to the Desert Line.
I think of the 3 extensions, to me, this is the least contentious, just because Foot does have, I believe, some past experience with roads rather than with third-party rail, but he does have prior experience anyhow. I think I'd be okay with this one. I think he'll be able to do a good job with it, and it's a fairly short and contentious route.
I
Yeah,
noted
this
that.
is- Go ahead.
I noted in my comments that I was still a bit worried of starting a precedent, but the route's short, nothing really wrong with it. I have faith in Mojang to basically be a good supervisor / teacher.
Is Mojang confirmed to be the sponsor? I think there was some questions around that.
Foot sent in an amendment / comment saying that yeah, Mojang is the sponsor right now, and and he hasn't backed out of it or anything.
Okay.
So I would give a tentative approval. Basically, I just want Moj to confirm sponsorship, at best. Or, the other option is to just say no, and this needs to get reproposed. Like, I think the proposal itself is fine, the routing is fine, but I agree that I would like to see the sponsorship nailed down firmly before anything gets started.
It does say, Foots did say that Moj is sponsoring this extension unless either of us say otherwise, and I guess neither of them have said otherwise. So
I think Foot mentioned originally that the only reason that Moj is, I guess, like a tentative sponsor in a sense, is that he was concerned that their time zones would be incompatible and it would be hard to collaborate in that sense. But I think I remember him sending in a follow-up comment saying that he thinks it shouldn't be too much of a problem.
okay. We could just approve it and see how it goes.
I mean, yeah, for me, Moj has said he will sponsor it and he's agreed with that. I don't see why we should only tentatively approve. I think we're fine to fully.
I think I agree with that.
I think the mess line. Yeah. So approved.
Nancy approved.
I would expect Foot, if he runs into any issues or there's work doesn't get done, then he should let us know.
Yeah.
When that happens.
Okay. But yeah, I'm fine to approve this. I would just note that I don't really like the idea of having a kind of wishy-washy sponsorship. I would like, if for other folks proposing lines in the future, get your proposal, nail down your sponsor first, and then submit. And just it makes it a lot better of a proposal if it's a firm sponsorship.
Yeah, agreed.
And yeah. Okay. 90 Flex 2.
Well, so on the USE, on the argument. I made a mistake in letting the argument spiral into the legitimacy of the USE. What I really meant to say is that while the USE is, I honestly think the USE is a gray area, and even if it's legal, which at this point it basically is, I think it's in too much of a gray area to where we should send an MRT official server project to it.
I mean, I'm not even objected from that standpoint. I just don't think Cracker has sufficient experience. He talks about working on a metro in the town, but he hasn't worked on any sort of cross-server infrastructure, particularly with how complex this plan is. I just want to say no straight away for that.
I mean, I'd be willing to take this on independently.
Yes, Cracker. I have seen the metro. I do not, even if the metro was like autobuses, a mini rail link queue, I still do not think it's the same thing as building between a long, thousands of blocks long line between many different towns, where you have to work with the terraforming and work with different towns.
Yeah, I think the key there, for me in particular, is the working with other towns to actually get permission. And just so for me, that you just don't have sufficient experience at the moment for that.
I feel like I need to defend this as the sponsor of it.
Go for it,
And
dude.
yes, Cracker doesn't have much experience on this. I will, however, point out that I myself do. And if it comes to it, I would be willing to maybe repropose this, take it on independently, not just as sponsor, but as primary.
Honestly, I'd be happy with that. I just don't think Cracker has sufficient experience with the infrastructure to take on an MRT project. So yeah, I'd be happy for the route itself to be approved. I just would want you as the sole person there.
I have two concerns here. One is, and they're both with the routing. One is when we began allowing MRT lines into Zeta terrain, we said at that point that we generally wanted to ensure that any new line was serving some decently sized towns. And pretty much all of the towns on this list are small. I don't think there's a single senator or governor town on this extension. Um, so that's certainly not great. And then the other is the whole USE mess.
I mean, yeah, to be clear, if it were to go through, I think we can straight out void the fact that USE has a claim over that territory. If there is an available station outside of 300 blocks of another town, then it's going to be publicly, or rather on the claim form.
Well,
Yeah,
my problem is not only that the USE had that they initially tried to claim off the station within USE territory, but the existence of at least one town. I'm not aware of any others, but I think it's just that one that was built solely to take the spot of a station on this proposal after Cracker had notified that state's owner, who was, well, they've come out to say it out loud, so I'll say it was Kingsnake, that Kingsnake was not going to get that station automatically because he didn't have a town there. That comes across as a form of squatting, even though that station hasn't been built. And while Kingsnake did build the town, I did not, and while I probably should have jumped in when I saw it in the first place to try to stop it, I did not see Cracker try to prevent Kingsnake from building there either, even though I had clearly told him that the USE couldn't just claim all of those stations.
Yeah, so I mean, if there's a community town like GSM Town, like that is allowed to have a station at it and can be registered. But I agree that just because an MPO has drawn borders, those mean nothing to for any official purposes. So yeah, I would agree that that particular component that can't be there if it goes forward. So, but I mean, I think that the concern of the town sizes and that we generally have said that we want it to have senator and governor towns before we, or be, connecting up to other lines like the new Mesa extension, like having those in place so that the lines can be kind of routed to serve them. I think that was the idea. So I don't know. I'm not a fan of this route.
Chief, I want to bring up another point about the routing. I'm going to post this in meeting live. So apparently I made a plan for how the forest line was supposed to go, or at least roughly. In this diagram, I don't remember when it was made, but it does turn south. However, this proposal really hugs the lake to the point where it points north and probably terminates there. So my question is, like, do you want to try to keep it that way, does the forest line even need to turn south? Because I think there's been talk about a outer circle zeta line of some sort instead. So
I'm
if that line isn't going to be in place, then we don't have to worry about it. But if we want to leave the possibility of the forest line turning south, this proposal doesn't really do that.
We have had greater diversions in the past.
I'm a little bit annoyed by some of the diversions I've seen so far. Like some of them are a little wacky.
I personally don't have an issue with Forest following that route. I think someone I just saw it in meeting live, but I think the plains could be adapted to follow the southern instead, which would provide service to that region.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
So it's in terms of, it looks like on that plan the plains would go east and then kind of divert south through along the eastern border. Granted, this is outside the scope of what we're discussing now, but
Yeah,
The server
Yeah.
kicked me. Anyway. Oh, sorry, Funkel.
all I'm saying is if there's an outer circle zeta line, then we don't have to worry about this. But I'm just saying, I guess I'm saying in general, when it comes to making extensions, keep in mind where it's going to be extended next.
yeah.
So if it's going to be like this, if it's just going to terminate facing north toward the whatever ocean that is or lake that is, that doesn't really make it easy to extend that further, right? So
So I was just going to say that I think there's a lot of issues with this, and I frankly think there's too many issues to go forward. It's kind of like the marina extension actually, where if it does have this many issues and potential for controversy, then it just shouldn't happen, at least right now.
Yeah, I'm with Skelly on this. I think
Yeah.
there's a few too many problems going on here.
Truth be told, I am starting to come to that opinion as well.
I don't think we I don't think we all agree on what doesn't work with this proposal, but I think we all agree that something doesn't work with this proposal. So I don't think it works for now.
I think, personally, I mean, a little bit behind the scenes, I was originally wishing to take on the Mesa rather than this, but obviously, because of time zone differences, that was not possible, apparently. So
I mean, is it worth? And I'm probably looking at yourself here, Frumple, to take on the action. Is it worth, sort of, because of the server stance on only wanting to extend lines where there has been significant development? Is it worth a review actually of the overall Zeta plan to make sure almost to refine it as necessary? So rather than just following arbitrary lines that were drawn when Zeta first opened, so those routes can actually reflect where development has happened.
well, to be fair, I was actually looking at the southwest portion of the map, where I did have a plan, and apparently that plan was completely ignored.
Exactly. So is it going to be better for the longevity to actually redraft a plan, bearing in mind where development is? In that way, we can be somewhat firmer in sticking to it, because that actually reflects where towns have cropped up rather than just where we thought the lines would go when Zeta opens.
I don't know. Like, I'm pretty open to if there's a significant city or town, then I'm pretty open to diverting the line to that if possible. But I'm also trying to keep in mind, like, just keeping the line straight, keeping it not making any wacky turns. Like, I don't know. Like, I think definitely for the Southwest, that definitely needs a review because it's all completely different now. We have to work with what the lines that we have right there. For the other parts of the world, I'm still more of a case. I think it's more of a case by case basis. like people will propose something and then we can review that at that point.
Where are the original documents in Drive?
They're somewhere. I can
They're in. I'll send you a link. They're in Discord.
Yeah.
It's in the that bit of the Google Drive is a bit of a black hole. Okay, so this sounds like this is going to be a no.
Yeah.
All right. Cool. Then last item on the agenda, 9E. Why is this 5A and not extension 5?
Because the all-rounder wants to build a 5B.
But why not just make
I
this
have
5 and make that 6?
I have thoughts on this, but
Okay.
what do you want to say first, Simon?
Yeah, I mean, for me, similar to Cracker, I just don't think they have sufficient experience with other large infrastructure projects. And yes, I get it's a small route, but I would at least want to see a couple of cross-town infrastructure having been carried out before we approve such a thing.
I have a comment, Skelly.
It's also
go for. Oh, sorry.
Yeah, this also has the same issue of it's a short extension. What rank is Lily Grove Union?
I can check.
Lily Grove is mayor, so it's really just an extension just to serve one mayor town.
Yeah, also a fair comment.
It is pretty much on the way anyway for this extension. I don't foresee any other direction this extension would go, to be really honest.
Well, for sure, like it follows where the extension would logically go. That's not. Yeah, I don't think that's the issue.
I think the one diversion could be if it did a bit of a parallel running stretch with the southern, but that would literally be one or two stations, so it's neither here nor there.
I would actually
That's not
strongly
huge.
prefer that because I don't like how it feels like it's unnecessarily going underwater, especially that section between 47 and 48. Like, why?
So yeah, almost mirroring, well, probably going two stations west and then cutting south to ZS49.
Yeah.
And you could do a diagonal between 47 and 48.
A diagonal would be better, yeah.
Yeah.
But either way, I think for me on both of those fronts, in that it only serves a mayor town and the all-rounder doesn't have any real infrastructure experience, I'm fairly against this.
Were you going to say something, Fumple?
That's my comment. I was waiting for you to speak, Skelly.
Oh, what were you going to say, Vicky?
I was mostly just gonna agree that it's just like it seems pretty meaningless.
So, okay, so basically to sum up the story of my involvement, the sponsor was originally 7D, but I expressed concern over 7D sponsoring an extension because he hasn't even built an MRT in the first place, and I decided to offer myself up as a sponsor because I didn't want to tell 7D not to sponsor an extension and then not give an option for a solution, because that wouldn't really be cool, right? But anyways, in normal circumstances, in any other case, I would not only not sponsor the extension, but I would be against it as well, because for the same reasons that the all-rounder is not experienced with World Edit, he doesn't really know too much about World Edit, which I think is the very biggest thing that you have to do in order to be an MRT, to build an MRT line as a member or even as a staff member. Like, a staff member probably shouldn't do it immediately after getting staff, but a member definitely needs to have World Edit experience. And from my evaluations, the all-rounder does not have that World Edit knowledge that's needed. You can take that in whatever way you wish.
Allrounder is saying 5B would most likely be proposed at the March GSM. 5A and 5B would be merged. However,
That's not how extension numberings usually work.
yeah. Well, not only that, like all around, if we reject the 5A, how do you expect that part to be approved plus something else? Like, particularly if the concern is the Lily, that town is not large enough for such an extension, like.
Now, one thing that did happen was that I think it was AP, I think, who suggested that I could build it by myself and have myself be the main builder instead of having me be the sponsor and the all-rounder technically be the builder. And while I do see some promise in this route, I'd rather, if it does go that route, I would rather wait until the February GSM to write up my own proposal so it includes the entire extension instead of just proposing one half and then doing the other half at a later meeting.
I don't remember suggesting that, but I agree.
I'm starting to sense a pattern of members proposing proposals and then staff trying to taking them over. Like that's what I'm seeing from this one and the last one.
Yeah, I'm cautious of that, but also.
Yeah, I want to say no on this one. I think.
I mean, it's probably a topic for a GSM rather than an ISM. But is it worth actually looking at rank requirements of extensions? Because I think we haven't been applying the same standard. For instance, I think if you look at the desert extension, although yes, Porter now is governor, at the time the extension was approved, it was councillor. I think the whole desert route, and it's a pretty long extension, had two mayor towns, a councillor town, and a community town in the form of Segav Cells follow on. So actually, do we need to look at that and actually decide a stance on sort of what rank is required for us to approve?
To help answer that question, is it fair to say that because there was a part of time where I wasn't here and a whole bunch of extensions got approved, is it fair to say that back then the standards weren't really set and now it sounds like we're being a bit more strict about it, or being a bit more, we're actually looking at that right now?
Was that before I thought that was approved just after you got back personally, but I could be wrong.
I remember there were a bunch of extensions that I had no say on. So
if I'm recalling correctly, the ones which were approved while you were gone were Autobus's extension, the Lakeshore / Zephyr North / whatever, which I think served a couple big towns like Oparia. And Mesa extension, which went to Mojang Senator Town and a couple other towns.
Mm-hmm. But the Mrs. Southern and Desert ones, were those?
I don't remember when we did those.
Not to put you on the spot, Missa, but I'm just wondering.
I can look it up. Give me a moment.
I'm fairly certain it was about 5 months ago now. Because it was when Porton was a councillor.
It would have been August time, about.
Forgive me, Hugh.
September. Looks like September GSM.
Okay.
Yeah, I wasn't there for that GSM.
Oh, fair enough. But I mean, I think my preference when it comes to extensions, I'm not necessarily. I think it was worth waiting for development when Zeta first opened, but I think by this point, if there isn't development now, it's probably there's a lot of space. So I almost wonder, are we being particularly prohibitive to the MRT by waiting for senators to pop up?
Here's a better question: do we need these extensions, or is it necessary?
But I think we can then apply that question to before, like when it filled out Epsilon.
Sorry, what do you mean?
As in, I think that we could have said the exact same thing when we had the first world border expansion, where I mean, I think for me, most of the extensions I've built, there's been very few towns on those extensions. It's really to give stations at claimable spaces.
Yeah. A side topic to this is also like we've made all these extensions, but we also kind of gauge what kind of demand there is, and I think it's fair to say that over time, or depends on the extension, but I think for some, like, there's definitely not that many people wanting to take a station, like the what's that, Savannah line is kind of a prime example of that, because I remember that when that opened, really wasn't many people claiming that.
Hmm.
I think some of the southern extensions were like that too, Simon. If I'm not
Yeah,
mistaken.
absolutely. Yeah, there are fairly low demand.
So
Yeah, I mean, yeah, really.
Yeah.
Yeah,
How about you?
I see the extensions and the MRT stations and stuff like that. It's a landmark that makes it really easy to locate a town. And it's kind of like you build a bunch, and then there's all these open stations, and the demand kind of waxes and wanes. When I think about I think a combination of, if we're trying to create stations so that people can use them as an anchor point for their towns, this particular extension doesn't really do all that much for that. And especially because we've got some stations that are in really close proximity to like SW1, which that's a whole mess, but it's like this particular extension doesn't really do much for that purpose.
I think
Which is why I'm more of the. Oh, well, yeah, which is why, I mean, I think between like this I think tells me it's like, yeah, I think it would make sense if we were building a short extension out to like a governor or a premier town. But doing a short extension out to just one little mayor town, like, unless it's going for senator sometime soon. But like, yeah, just an extension out to a mayor town, even though it's along the route, like by itself, I don't think that really does a whole lot.
So you're saying it'd almost be more likely to get approved if it was longer to give more claimable stations?
Yeah, what Skelly was suggesting.
If it was longer, yeah. Yeah, if it was longer and there were more towns passed that it included, then yeah.
I see. Yeah, okay, that makes sense. Yeah. So I guess we'll deny this, and then potentially there could be another proposal for this, a longer proposal.
Yeah, I mean, as with most things, if we say no, that doesn't mean no forever. It just means no for now.
Notice this specific proposal. It seems, to the all-rounder, if you're still listening, I could look at it and see how much merit it has, but it would be, if I did take it up in the future, it would kind of be more like the Plains line, which was originally pushed for by Pretzel, but where I was the actual builder the entire way through, and Pretzel technically did not have any say in it as a member builder or anything, which is completely fine too. Of course, that's a bit oversimplifying it, but
yeah, I'm inclined to say no for now.
I'd agree, yeah.
I have a weird
Any
question.
other thoughts?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
Just a general question. Is there any reason why people want to be building these extensions so much? I noticed that there was a frenzy lately. I'm trying to understand why all of a sudden people want to build.
I think it is just as it's opened up to members, because you look at Auto's. Auto was the first non-staff member to run their own extension, and yeah, as PTLD say, it is bragging rights for non-staff members to do it.
Okay, even though in some cases they didn't really have much to do, like in Skelly's case.
Hmm.
Like, right?
Yeah, but they're involved. You get the sponsor. It's some, I think, more direct way to get involved in a big thing. I don't know. I mean, and also I think just there was a little bit of hesitation until someone went through with it for the first time when Otto did his. So yeah.
So yeah, I think more people. It pretty much you've got a larger pool of people where the process is open to them now. So more people are applying.
Okay. I guess I explained
So,
it.
okay, so Mesa extension is good.
The other
Forest
two
extension,
are not.
yeah, Forest extension and Zephyr South extension are denied, and the other extensions that have been built up until now, they are now open. Okay, great. That's all for the agenda. 35 minutes. We're gonna call that. Thanks all for coming. Reminder, mod nominations are due a week from tomorrow on Sunday, February, what is that, 6th? Yeah, Sunday, February 6th at 7 p.m. UTC. And then the GSM will be a week after that. Topics are due at 7 p.m. UTC on February 11th. That's all. Thanks, everybody.
See you.
See ya.
How do I get out of here?
Okay.